Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, welcome to our online learning session. Last class we saw about meiosis, cell division, and before that we saw mitosis. This mitosis, cell division, and meiosis, cell division, and their significance is very important. Please study well, take notes, and and write it down so that you'll remember, and in the examination inshallah you will write well. So I hope you have your book in front of you and the notebook in front of you to take notes. In this class inshallah we will see about tissues. What is tissues? Basically, we know that in our body we have different kinds of cells. We have skin cells, we have muscle cells, we have nerve cells, we have many other cells, brain cells, a lot of different types of cells. So, what's the tissue? So, tissue is basically a group of cells. Okay, a group of cells similar in size. They are same in size and shape, and they perform the same function. Okay, and they have the common origin. That is, they have common origin. They came from a same type of cell. Okay, uh, so this is the definition for tissue. So for example, you have skin tissue. So they will be made up of group of cells, that is skin cells, similar in size. They have the same function. So we call that as tissue. Okay, that's a definition for tissue. And you know that, for example, in the house it runs smoothly when different people work different function. House runs smoothly. Likewise, in our body also there are different kind of tissues. They perform different functions. That you have to remember. And the main definition is this one. As I told, a tissue can be defined as a group of cells similar in size, shape, perform the same function, and having a common origin. This is the definition for tissue. If asked in the examination, you have to write this. And plants, they are able to produce new tissues throughout their life. If you cut some part, it will grow again. So that is the characteristic of plants. As for animals, some tissues can grow under certain conditions. For example, you have some scratch and your skin tissue came out and it will grow again. But as for some organs like heart or nervous tissue, it can never be formed again. For this is for animals. First, we will see about plant tissues. There are two types of plant tissues. One is meristematic tissue, and the one is permanent tissue. That you have to remember. Meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. First one is meristematic tissue. So it usually it's found in the growing points of a plant. Okay, growing points such as the tips of the roots. You have the roots under the plant, the tip of the root, and also the tip of the stems and the branches. So usually this meristematic tissue are found there. So what are their characteristics? Okay, that we will see. Initially, the first characteristic is that they are aggregate of living cells. Aggregate is like a group of thing formed into a one type of body. Okay, a group formed into one type of body, that is living cells. So living cells, they are grouped into one body. That is what is called as aggregate. That is the definition for aggregate. So they are aggregate of living cells compactly arranged. Okay, they are arranged compactly without intercellular spaces. There are no spaces between the cells. So that's the first characteristic. Second characteristic is that they are thin walled. Okay, and they may be rounded, oval in shape, or polygonal. Polygonal is like square or rectangle or triangle, any plane shape. Okay, covered shape, joint shape, having more than three or more than three sides. That's what is called as polygonal. There is a definition for polygonal. So they are thin walled, they may be rounded or oval in shape, or polygonal or rectangular in shape. And then the cells are small. So this meristematic tissue, their cells are small in number, I mean, their size is small, but they have a large nucleus. As we have told before, that plants have large nucleus, plant cells have, and they are capable of dividing indefinitely. Okay, there is no set of limited number of division. They are capable of dividing indefinitely, and they add new cells to the plant. This is another characteristic. So, and usually this meristematic tissue, they are found in the apices, that is open ends of root and shoot. You know the root and also the shoot, that is stem part. So here they have given two diagrams. First one is that longitudinal section of stem tip sharing apical meristem. Longitudinal section is nothing but when you cut a part into the axis. Okay, you cut into that, it will look like this. Okay, so this is the end leaf, and this is the pith, that is the inner part. So this is the apical meristem longitudinal section. Okay, longitudinal section, for example, to make you understand, you take a carrot, okay, you keep it in a vertical position and you cut exactly into the central axis. Okay, and you see the inner part, that is what is called as longitudinal section. And the second diagram is that is a meristematic tissue. So here you have the root hair. If you see, this is the root and this is the root hair, and these are the parts of the meristematic tissue. This is the root cap. Okay, at the end you have the root cap, and this is the root apical meristem. At apical is that apex. Okay, this is the meristematic tissue. This is procambium. Procambium is found in between. It helps in the growth of the size of the stem or root, whatever it is. This is ground meristem, protoderm outside. This is called as primary meristems. These three parts are called as primary meristems. You just have to remember the name so that you, when you draw the diagram, you just label it. Okay, and then we'll go to the second tissue, that is permanent tissue in the plants. It is made up of cells which have lost their ability to multiply. Here we saw that this meristematic tissue, they have the ability to multiply indefinitely, but in the permanent tissue they are made up of cells, they have lost their ability to multiply. They cannot multiply further. So they are of three types: protective tissue, supporting tissue, and conducting tissue. These are the three subtypes of permanent tissue, that is protective tissue and supporting tissue and conducting tissue. First we'll see protective tissue. The name suggests that it protects. It's made up of thick walls. Okay, this tissue is made up of cells that have thick walls, and they occur on the surface of leaves, stems, and roots. You have the surface on leaves, and also you have surface on the stem and roots. So these surface tissues are made by protective tissue. So here you can see this cambium. Okay, cambium is the part, it helps in the growth of the size of the stem or root, whatever it is. Okay, and you have cortex, and that's also a kind of tissue. It helps in storing of some nutrients and also some oil substances in the plants. And epidermis is the outer covering. Epidermis is like a skin, okay, to the plant. So outer covering, phloem and xylem. We'll see about phloem and xylem in the following explanations. So this is the phloem and this is xylem. We'll explain about this in the upcoming subtopics, inshallah. Then you have supporting tissue. So it provides support to various parts of the plants. So we told that protective tissue, they protects the surface. Okay, they are found on the surface. This is supporting. They give support to the various parts of the plants. They fill up the interior parts. Okay, like for example interior of potatoes which store food. Okay, and also they found in the leaf stalks. Leaf stalk is nothing but you have the leaf, actual leaf part, and the it is connected to the stem through the leaf stalk. I hope you understand what I'm telling. You have the actual leaf and you have the stem, and both are connected by a stalk in between that. You know, if you see the leaf, and it will have a stalk and it connects to the stem. That is what is called as leaf stalks. So that's the supporting tissue they're made up of. And the third one is that conducting tissue. They, it's also called as vascular tissue. Okay, and the name is vascular tissue. They provide passage, that is way for fluids, that is fluids to move up and down in the plant. You have water, that is one of the fluid. So these tissues, they provide passage way for the fluids to move up and down in the plant. It's of two types, as I told, the xylem and phloem. The xylem and phloem. Xylem is located more towards the center of the stem, more towards the center of the stem, and phloem is uh, located just near that. And xylem, it allows the water and minerals absorbed from the soil. You have water and minerals from the soil, so it is absorbed through the roots, and this through the xylem tissue, through the xylem tissue, uh, through the xylem, it takes the water and minerals to the various parts of the plants. Next one is phloem. What is phloem? It serves as a conductor for food. Okay, the plants, by photosynthesis, they produce food, right, for them, and they take these nutrients, this food, to all the other regions where no photosynthesis happens, like stem. Okay, so they flow downward and upward depending upon the need. So that's what is called as conducting tissues. They conduct water and nutrients, that is food. So you have to remember this. Xylem means, xylem is for water conduction, phloem is for food conduction. Remember this, this is very important. Okay, here in the diagram, the sieve cell, that sieve is basically like a filter. This is phloem, and here you have sieve plate. That sieve, it's like a filter. Okay, while conduction happens, so that impurities or unnecessary things are filtered out. So these are the connecting tissues. And next one is animal tissues. Okay, animal tissues, they are grouped under four main categories. First one is epithelial, second connective, third one muscular tissues, fourth one nervous tissues. I'll repeat. First one is epithelial tissue, connective tissue, third one muscular tissue, nervous tissues. Now we'll see about epithelial tissue. They are thin protective layer of cells. Okay, now, before we saw about plant cells, now we are into animal tissues. Animal tissues are classified into four main categories, that is epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous tissues. Now, first one is epithelial. They are thin protective layer, okay, for protection of cells. They are generally located on the outer surface of the body. When you say it's like a protective, obviously it has to be outside of the body. So they are generally located on the outer surface of the body, and also the surface of the internal organs. You have internal organs like kidney, you have heart, and many other internal organs, right? So on the surface of the internal organs, these epithelial tissues are found, and also on the lining of the body cavities. Cavities is nothing but, in the body you will have cranial cavity, abdominal cavity. So in the lining, inside it, lining, okay, lining is basically the surface lining of the body cavities. These are generally located epithelial tissue. For example, I'll show you here. So here you can see they have shown many cavities. Like for example, here is the cranial cavity, and you have abdominal cavity, and you have thoracic cavity. These are the cavities. Cavities is basically space. Okay. So in the lining inside the surface, these cells are found. And there are three distinct types of epithelial tissues, namely squamous, cuboidal, columnar epithelium. Squamous epithelium, it is like this. The nature of these cells are that they are hexagonal. Hexagonal is six side shape, okay, or they are irregular cells with thin walls, okay. Example is that, for a location, cells of the outermost layer of skin. You have skin and outermost layer of the skin where the cells are found. That is an example. That tissue will be there. And function, what is the function? As I told, it's protection for the underlying parts in the body from injury, harmful substances, and from drying up. So uh, there might be some injury if it's open, so they have to be protected from harmful substances, and from drying up, so that liquids don't dry up in our body, so they protect. That is the function of squamous epithelium. The second one is cuboidal epithelium. Cuboid is basically cube-like structure. This is the shape, and the nature of the cells are the thick cuboidal cells, cube-shaped cells. An example is that some parts of kidney tubules and in glandular ducts. So kidney tubules, kidney is the one of the functions of main function of kidney is that to remove the waste product in our body. So inside the kidney there will be tubules, tube-like structure. So some parts of the kidney tubules they contain cuboidal epithelium tissues, and in glandular ducts. Ducts is basically like a tube or anything which secretes something. For example, you have saliva secretion in our mouth. Okay, so they have gland, like gland is that secretes something. uh, so they are made up of this cuboidal epithelium. As I told, the main function is that secretion. For example, saliva, salivary gland. Okay, uh, and the third one is that columnar epithelium. Column, the name itself suggests it's like a column. So they are tall, elongated cells. As I told, it's like column shape, and at some places in this columnar epithelium they have cilia. Cilia is like a hair-like structure, okay, at the free ends. Okay, so they are called as ciliated columnar epithelium. If they have cilia at the end, cilia is basically like a hair, as I told. So they are called as ciliated columnar epithelium. So example is that inner lining of the stomach. You have stomach and inner lining, and intestine also. The inner lining of trachea, windpipe. Trachea is nothing but I'll show you here. This is what is trachea, the windpipe in our near our in our throat region. Okay, so here it is. So this is what is called as trachea, the windpipe in our body. So here you can see this is a trachea. Okay, so inner lining, they are made up of this columnar epithelium cells, tissue, sorry, and they are, what is the function? Secretion, to secrete something, and absorption, when there are some nutrients or anything they have to absorb. Lashing movement of cilia pushes the material forward. That is, when you have during eating, they, how do they push the, see this is the trachea pipe, and they have this columnar epithelium tissues here, and they have cilia here, hair like structure. So when you have food or anything, this muscle helps in pushing the material forward. Okay, this muscle movements along with the cilia, they push the material forward inside. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. Inshallah, next class we'll see about muscular tissue and their subtypes, and also nerve tissue, connective tissues, and finally stem cell. Inshallah, next class we'll see all these things. Please watch the video carefully, take notes, and watch one or two times, 2 or 3 times, so that you understand well. And if you don't understand anything, you can message me. Inshallah, I will explain you if you don't understand anything. Study well. Barakallah feekum. We'll end here. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.